Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of the Heretic Yogi, which I'm going to call the Heresy of my own story. So, on the last episode I said that maybe one way to go about overcoming differences is just to begin sharing stories. And that's why sometimes I like to say, if you have an argument with someone, maybe the best way to start overcoming that is to share a meal with them and not talk about what you're arguing about until you can come to the point that you realize that you're pretty much the same in so many ways. Then you can deal with those small differences. So my own story is, I've said before, I grew up in a rural North Carolina community where kind of a cultural overt racism was the norm. No one thought of themselves as being racist or anything or doing racist things. It was just sort of the framework in which we lived. And a lot of times I think it's just that people didn't know anything different. But actually, I guess people were aware of alternatives. It just, at that point, the inertia of society was still with the status quo. So there wasn't any really urge to examine the way things were or to change. So it wasn't that people were bad at heart, it's just we were going along with the way things had always been. So for example, I can remember being a little kid, I don't know, maybe I was 5, 6, something like that. And I remember being out in the yard with other adults, which makes me think that maybe it was a gathering of neighbors to make homemade ice cream, something that happened a lot in the summers. And I told my 6-year-old joke, which was that if I ever saw a black person, I would lick the chocolate off of them. Yes, I actually said that, and I think I used the term black person rather than something much worse. But anyway, it must have gone over so well with the adults because I remember some other time later on saying that same joke again. So that was something that was kind of, accepted. Look at that cute little kid. Something that obviously we wouldn't allow our kids to say now. We would point out where they'd gone wrong. So let's fast forward in time to getting a bit older and, actually going to school with other black kids. Other black kids, I'm not a black kid. Going to school with black kids and things. And starting to think of black people as a little bit more normal and less foreign in my experience. But still, even when I started to think of black people as equal to me, there was that early conditioning that's hard to get over. So in yoga, one of the theories of the mind is that your mind is sort of like a slate that thoughts and experiences get written on that slate. You can also erase the slate, wipe them off, but if you keep writing the same kind of thoughts, the same kind of experiences over and over, it gets harder and harder to erase that slate. And then the writings on that slate become basically the instruction manual for your life, and you subconsciously go back to those same impressions. So I'd grown up, black people are different. We shouldn't really socialize with black people, that kind of thing. And then you go off to college and stuff where you start to learn some new things. And I can remember, my zoology class. And in my zoology class was a young woman named Zoe, a young African-American woman who was the most beautiful person that I had ever seen. Being super shy and geeky, I didn't like to talk to her, but I would sit a couple seats away just so I could sort of be in her presence. Even though I could sort of not really breathe when I was close to her. I was like, and then she would leave, and I was like, okay, I can take a breath now. But anyway, so there's that experience going on at the same time that all these previous conditionings haven't quite been wiped away. So the same time period, I remember being out on a bike ride with my friend John and seeing, we're out in the country and passing by a house, there's some young, like 3 or 4-year-old black kids playing in the yard. And I made some quip that was a joke that labeled them based on their race. It was very cute in my mind at that moment. And John's face was just sort of mortified, like, "Argh." And that was sort of the turning point of going, oh, okay, so I'm seeing that, white people and black people are not inherently different, and that it's not even okay to joke about it when they're not going to overhear it and their feelings aren't going to be hurt. So that was one of those, okay, got to really get my act together. Who do I want to be? So I had to keep erasing that slate. And then years later, I ran a volunteer program for teenagers, a very diverse set of wonderful young people. And they really, being with them and getting to know some of them for, 5 or 6 years at a time, made it so that I could never accept my own subconscious leanings to view other races as somehow just different and maybe beneath me. And now some of those same kids, they're all adults now, but now some of them are some of my really important mentors who I look to try to see what's the way forward in life. How does this privileged white guy be less and less of a jerk as he goes forward and be more of a positive influence? So it's gone from me being their mentor to now they're my mentors. Which kind of brings us back again to yoga. So yoga says your mind's like a slate, and you keep writing these instructions on it that then subconsciously tell you how to lead your life. And it says that those messages that your slate is giving you, you have the chance to ignore them. So for lots of people, most of us, most of the time, and most of the things we do are simply reacting to our mind's writings without even knowing it. So when someone cuts you off in traffic, if you flip them the bird and scream, you don't even think about it. It just comes up. You don't know where that even came from. You just act from it, and you think that that's who you are for a moment. But yoga says you can start to intercept those upwellings, those messages that are coming up from your deeper mind, and choose which ones you should actually act on. And so the more you practice at intercepting those thoughts and tendencies, the less and less power they have, the less often they arise, until finally, whatever that writing is on your own slate that's sending those messages up can be erased, and you no longer have to worry about those. So, coming up many, many years in American culture as a white guy, especially in the rural area, I have a lot of writing on my slate regarding how race works. And so, I would be a hypocrite if I said I'm colorblind, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff you hear. No, I still feel those upwellings of that early life. Hopefully I'm pretty good at intercepting them at this point. And with the help of lots of other people, I hope to keep doing better. So that's my story. I'd love to hear a little bit about yours. Have a great day. Peace.